the lesson that you learn from your own mistake is worth 10 lessons that you learn from somebody else's mistake. You know, it on a personal level to the person, but in reality, if you could learn from other people's mistakes, you get there a lot faster.
This is the Australian Poker Mindset. It's all about unlocking a level you've never reached before.
I can only control my decisions at the table.
How do you maintain your confidence? Put in the work, and that's all mental game.
If you're strictly playing GTO, it's not enough for a live setting.
I would say from my older self to me now, give it your all now.
I am very excited to have a very special guest to share with you all today. We all know who he is. We all know what he's done. Welcome to the show, Joe Hashem.
Thanks, Brendon. Thanks for having me, mate.
No, it's really good to have you here. I know that you've got a lot to offer the poker world, and you've certainly been around the block. So I guess I wanted to start out by just sort of asking you, like, my brand that I'm trying to build here is called the Australian Poker Mindset. For you, like, what comes to mind when you think of poker mindset?
It's kind of an open question, Brendon, because to me, the way I've always looked at it was that there's not really much difference between poker and life. It's the same thing. You apply the same principles. You know, I've always just tried to stay true to myself, keep my family close, and continue in my beliefs and my values. And that has been what's helped me get through the gambling world and the poker world. And when you talk about poker mindset, there's the competitive side of poker, then there's the living side of poker. And you've got to be able to go in, compete, then once you finish, you know, it's like that white line fever. Once you cross the white line, game is on. But once you cross back over the white line, you're back into reality, if that makes sense.
So for you, that there's a...
Like on the table, off the table type thing.
Yeah. So there's a distinct difference for you that when you're in the game, you're switching something on, which is like game time, competitive mode. And then when you're off there, though, you're back to the you know, all your core values of you know, your family and the grounding of what that provides for you.
Yeah, exactly. That's how I look at it. And I know a lot of people find it hard to do that. You know, they stay in poker mode all the time. And it's not healthy. It's not healthy. You need to be able to switch off. And like any good athlete, any good competitor, sure, they think about the game and they train and they do everything. But there's a difference between that and between sitting at the table and playing. You know, and you need to be able to delineate that in your life and to make sure that your life is balanced with wholesome things, such as family, such as good friends, having nice dinners with people that you care about, having a good time. You know, I see way too many people just become consumed. And, you know, one of the things that I have said to my kids and friends for a long time is it makes me sad when I walk into a casino and I see a 60-year-old grey-haired man who I've known for 20 years and he's still sitting in the same seat doing the same thing, you know, and he's ashen in colour. And his whole life is consumed by the game. And I think that's not what it's about. I think we play poker so we can, you know, like people work to live. people play poker to escape the 9-to-5 job, they end up being their own prisoner.
Yeah, it's a really tough thing, and I think there's a lot of things that are coming up for me when you're talking about this. I mean, I think one of the things is the idea of, well, is poker gambling, or is it skill? You know, is it a competitive skill based sport? And my answer to that is quite subjective. I would say it depends how you approach it. Because for some people, poker is purely just gambling. You know, they don't apply any strategy, they don't apply any mindset, they just go and play and then wing it, right? And then you become this 60-year-old man that you're describing, right? But then there's the other side, which is, well, no, if you apply yourself and you try and learn a bit of strategy, and if you try and take care of your health and wellness, then now you're not really gambling, because you're looking to try and, you know, keep that competitive nature about it. To me, it's clear.
Yeah, but there are 60-year-old men who treat poker as a profession, but they're still doing the former because that's all they do. And that's where I feel the imbalance is. So it's not that they're gamblers and they just want to be around gambling all the time, or that they probably are gamblers to a certain point, but they can be really disciplined poker players, but that's all they do. They want to, like night and day. And I think it's unhealthy. I think it's just it's a horrible way to live. To me, we're on this planet for one reason only, is to leave it better than what we came to it. And whether you do that through family, through finding a cure for corona, through whatever you do, and my choice is family, because I think that's what life's about. Life's about leaving a legacy of family behind that are going to contribute positively to this world. Sitting in a casino for 16 hours a day, every day. What are you doing? What are you contributing to this world?
Yeah, look, I think anyone who's really sort of followed your journey over the years would get that picture about you. You know, like I'm sure, or I'm just speaking personally too, is, you know, the things that you put out there in other interviews and things, is you are a very family orientated person, and your philosophies are quite projected out there to have that, you know, sense of legacy and meaning and depth in your life. And I think that's why you've become one of the ambassadors for the game, because I guess your motifs resonate with people, especially for the people who find it really hard to differentiate that from poker, because poker can really just consume you. But I guess, like, you know, it's very easy to sit here and say it in a podcast, right? Like, but in practice, it can be really difficult at times. You go through the journey where, you know, there's compulsive things that tempt you all the time, and if you're losing, you know, that you want to keep going to get more. And, you know, how have you managed that over the years? I mean, it must be quite difficult.
Oh, mate, I'm human just like everyone else. I had to go through the whole learning cycle myself in my younger years. I was very, very blessed, right? When I won the World Series in 2005, I was 39 years old. Not 23, not 25, 39. I'd already been playing for 20 years. I had a career, I had a family, and I was happily married. So tick all those boxes. When I was mature enough to be able to deal with it, you know, but I made those mistakes early in my life, which we all need to make our own mistakes. You know, even with my own kids, no matter how much I tell them, they still need to make their own mistakes. It's normal. It's life. You know, the lesson that you learn from your own mistake is worth 10 lessons that you learn from somebody else's mistake. You know, it on a personal level to the person, but in reality, if you could learn from other people's mistakes, you get there a lot faster. But as humans, we kind of like, especially when we're young, we think we know everything. We think we know way more than what we do know. And what does Dad know? Or what does Joe know? I'm different, you know, I'll be better than that. And then a few years down the track, those words are echoing in their minds, right? Like it's just, it's life. But I made those mistakes too, to a certain degree, in my younger years.
Hey guys, I want to take a moment out of the episode today to give a shout out to the King's Premium Poker Room, which is a brand new room at the St George Leagues Club in Kogarah, Sydney. I've recently joined forces with them to help bring you the highest quality of service to you on your poker journey. I'll be running training seminars, podcasts, docu-series, and many more things to give you plenty of opportunities to take your game and mindset to the next level. The room is amazing and it has plenty of natural light and a relaxed ambiance with no pokey machines or loud dance floors nearby. They have plenty of experienced dealers and staff who provide one of the best settings I've personally played poker at myself. And what I love most about the room, other than the simple things like the quality of the cards and the chips, is the integrity and the passion that both tournament directors Mark and Natan bring to the game. They've been around poker since I've been in poker, which is well over 15 years, and I know that you can feel safe to put your trust in them when it comes to the integrity of the game, money handling, and most of all, your safety. They have their first ever tournament series coming up in mid-November, featuring a $750 main event with a $100K guarantee and a $1,250 buy-in high rollers multi-day event. For more information on their upcoming tournaments, head to kingsroom.com.au or visit their Facebook page, or you can even reach out to me in a message and I can let you know what's going on. Thanks guys, and I'll let you get back to the episode.
The one thing that I'll say, and I can't say it enough, I'm sorry, I sound like a broken record, but the one thing that differentiated me from almost everyone else is my family having that solid grounding, where no matter what I did away from home, when I came home, I was still a dad and a husband. You know what I'm saying? And that, and I was a brother and a son. And I think they're the things that keep your feet grounded and give you the perspective on life that you need to understand what is really important in life.
Yeah.
Let's face it, Brendon, you and I, we play poker to make money, right? We love the game, but we're not doing it for free.
Right.
Yeah. You're not putting in the effort that you put into this game for a pat on the back, right? For a little, ribbon that says congratulations for, participating.
Well,
we're doing it.
I think I agree with you, right? Like I think, yes, that was always sort of I would say that was my earlier years objective. Like, I got to make money because that was my only livelihood, a sense of livelihood, right? And my results in the game really affected my livelihood. Now that I've ventured out and done other things, I find that I have a different sense of motivation. So I would say that I've kind of evolved in my personal journey on that. Yes, of course, I play and I want to make money. And if there was no money, there's no poker game, right? No one would play poker if there was no money. But I find that I do have a little bit of a different sense of things now where I'm like, okay, maybe I want to put myself out there to engage with people. This is my community. These are people who I spend time with, and I don't know, like I want to be a different presence in that space now. But that's just me evolving. But I agree with you. Yeah.
No, that's totally. Yeah, that's exactly right. That's a healthy evolution.
Right.
Like,
right.
I mean, I've put someone like me of my vintage, right? We loved the game of poker. Yeah, we used to play, win, lose, whatever. It was a hobby. Yeah. Then poker took off, and it became something that you could make real money out of, real substantial money, right? So I didn't come into the game looking to make money. I came into the game because I was already in it, and then it turned into something that could make real money. Yeah, and now I'm 56, right? I've been playing forever, and I still play to win and to make money, but that's never been my entire focus. Now, my focus is to always help grow the game, help be a good representative of the game in all communities, and along the way, when I cross that white line and I'm at the table, I'm there to play.
It's game time. Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. I think that's the way we should really be approaching it. And, I've started doing a lot of coaching. Well, not started. I started coaching around 8 years ago. But when I started out, I was only doing fundamental coaching because I had no kind of like training or awareness around mindset other than working a bit with Jamie Glazier, which was a good inspiration for me. But then over the years, I ended up upskilling myself and getting a bachelor's of counseling and coaching. And I really wanted to just get more in touch with the psychology side of things. And now pretty much 75% of what I do with my clients is mental game stuff. That's also partly because it's easy to refer them to training websites now because there's so much out there, right? But now I put so much importance on that on the table, preparation, and also the post game stuff to make sure you're not carrying things with you and not sleeping and whatnot, right? So yeah, I agree with a lot of what you're saying, and I think we are similar in those beliefs in poker. It's a challenging thing though. Like I said before, putting into practice is a lot harder than saying it in a podcast.
That's why you need good people around you.
Yeah, and so I was going to ask you before, when you were talking about family, right? So I've found with a lot of my clients, they do get quite lonely in poker. And in some ways, poker's always there for them. It's a bit of a dependency, right? But when they go traveling around to all these different tournaments, they don't really know anyone, and maybe they're away from their family. Or the sad thing is as well, Joe, is some people just don't have much family. Or maybe they're estranged from their family because of history and things like that. So like, what are your thoughts and such on someone who might be in a situation like that?
That's an interesting question for me because I don't make friends easily. I'm very much to myself. I'm friendly to everybody, but it's very hard for me to make a new friend. It takes a long time. That's just my personality. I have a firm belief that I have so much to give as a friend. That's worth a lot to me, And when I was younger, I got burnt. We were brought up that, in my household was brought up that if you're with your friend, you have your friend's back till death. End of story. It's over. So I'm not going to give that to just someone that I just met 5 minutes ago. It's a commitment for me.
Fair enough.
Yeah, that's how I am, And I've had the same group of friends almost my entire life, And people have come up to me several times and they've said to me, who are friends now, who've said, Joe, it took me 4 years to get comfortable with you, right? And I didn't say anything. I never did anything like, but it's just, that's the way I am. And I'm digressing, but other people will make friends easier. And I think you need to make friends if you don't have family to fall back on. Like what you kind of did and a lot of your generation did, you had like a wolf pack of fellow competitors who had similar mindsets and similar ambitions. And that's where you spent your time away from the table as well, right? And you need that, So if you don't have already an established core base of good friends or family, then you need to seek that out.
It's challenging.
I spoke about myself first because, it's very challenging, right?
Yeah, because you don't know who to trust. You don't know if someone's out to they want to get staked by you or they want you to support. There's so many different things that could be going on.
There's always
right?
people with angles, right? Yeah. That's what saved me because it was never easy for anyone to get in close to me. That saved me as well in my position. If you ask Jamie and Jackie what I said to them after their first year when they were around for about 1 year in the Crown Poker Room, and we got to know each other and stuff, and I sat them down and I said, hey guys, listen, you guys are friendly with everyone. You seem like really nice people, but just be careful because in this world, there's always people out there to angle you, to take advantage of you. You have to be very careful of who you choose to be friends with. And 6 months later, they came back to me and said, wow, Joe, You're absolutely right. They'd already experienced a couple of things by then, you know. But I said
Which
that
comes
to them
back to
because
what you
I
said
felt
before.
that
Like
were
they have
good
to learn it
people.
they have to learn on their own, right? Like no matter how much guidance, they still have to maybe be slightly burnt in some
Of
way or
course.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But at least maybe my words saved them from getting third-degree burns. They only got first-degree burns.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
if that's an appropriate analogy. So for me, when I was traveling, was very hard because my group of poker friends that I came up with, they all have kind of just fell away. You know, especially after I, won the World Series, it's hard for that group to come along for the ride because I was traveling everywhere, I was being sponsored, and they all kind of fell away from the game. So I was by myself, you know, and
How did you pull yourself through that time? That would have been hard.
you know what? Being an island in poker by yourself is very hard, and also too, Joe Hashem is the world champion. So who do you? People think that you already know everything, but I didn't, and I don't. You know, I found it hard. I found it very hard. And I'm just not an open guy to start with. I'm not an open person. Like I'm not the guy that'll just walk up and start talking to people. I always give this analogy. I can go, and this is a true story. I was in the poker room for 20 years. I had half a dozen friends. My brother was in the poker room for a month. He knew everybody in the poker room with totally opposite personalities. And you know, Tony, how friendly he is, and he likes to be involved. I'm the opposite. You know, I just want to be left alone. That's how I always have been. You know, I'm happy, and I'm being an introvert. If I'm around a lot of people, it drains my energy. If I'm around my close friends and family, I'm fine. But if I'm around people who are not in my inner circle, it just drains my energy. So I try and stay. That's how I keep myself quiet on the inside, by keeping to myself. You know, but no. Going back to your answer, and again, we're digressing. If you don't have an established group of friends, if you don't have family support, then I think you need to seek that out. But take your time. You know, what are your values? Look for people who've got similar values to you. You know, and don't jump into it. You know, have a drink with them, have a meal with them. Don't just instantly become their friend. There's a golden rule that I have before anyone gets a thumbs up from me is we have to get drunk together. I want to see how you are when you've had a few drinks.
You think
I want to see how you
honest?
are when you've had a few drinks. Well, yeah, you know, like to me, I'm the same person whether I'm drunk or sober. Right. I could be a little bit merrier, yeah, a little bit more affectionate, but you know, and that's been a really good test for me over the years. Like, let's go out, let's have dinner, go out and party somewhere, have a few drinks at a bar. Let's see how you act. To me, it's a big, you know, it's never proven wrong to me.
Yeah. That's interesting. I mean, like you could also say something of like, you know, hanging out with someone when they're gambling too, right? Because people always say that when someone's gambling, or especially when they're losing gambling, they show their true colors. So on a poker table, that's like a good example. I mean, like I've seen time after time people who I would have previously respected, but then they lose a hand or a pot based on luck or maybe they got outplayed or whatever. And then they say something or do something. And I'm like, whoa, they just like turned into someone else, and now my perception of them has changed.
No, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. No.
Interesting. What do you think?
Okay, there's two types of things there, right? I agree with you about watching people, how they react in the gambling world, right? I think that's very important. But let's deal with this thing here, right?
Yeah.
There are people who wear their hearts on their sleeve, and they're quite emotional, right? They cop a bad beat, something comes out. Yeah. But then there's nothing to it. It's just that. It's not a personal thing at all.
Right.
Yeah. It's just, there are other people, friends of mine too, who, the worst thing could happen and they don't even know how to express themselves. It just stays inside. For me personally, no matter how much I try to control it, yeah, and I've gotten a lot better over the years, I eventually need to let it out. Otherwise, I just blow up. It's genetic. It's not something that you want to do. Yeah. But understanding, seeing how people react in the gambling world, here's how to judge it, right? When they're running well and everything's going well for them, they can be generous, yeah? They can be quite benevolent, happy to be, good to be around, whatever. Then they have a downturn. How do they act during that downswing? When they owe Brendon 5,000, they owe Joe 10,000, they owe this person. How do they act? How do they, respect that debt? Is it, hey, Brendon, listen, mate, I owe you this money. Here's $500. As soon as I get some more, I'll give you back. I owe quite a few people some money. Or is it every cent they get, they're into the next tournament or on the next race? That to me is worth so much because over the years, you can appreciate, I've had a lot of people owe me money. And the ones that I've respected the most are people who've stayed in contact with me and said, Joe, listen, sorry, mate, I'm doing a bit tough. Here's something. Thank you for, And it happened to me not long ago, actually, a few years ago. Someone had owed me, I don't want to say his name, but if he watches this, he'll know who he is. He owed me $25,000 for quite a while. And he was going through a bad time, marriage, whatever. And then he rang me up a few times. He said, Joe, I haven't forgotten, mate. I'll make it right, I promise, but thank you for your patience. And then out of the blue, just rings me up and goes, right, can we have a coffee? Sure. He goes, mate, I'm back on my feet. Things are going well. Here's 10,000. I'll give you the rest over the next few months because, I'm back on my feet. Things are well. Thank you for your patience. He ended up paying me back the full 25, over the next few months. Then I've had other people who've gone to their grave, literally gone to their grave, and never once spoke about that they owed me.
I see what you're saying here. So there's a level of like how someone carries themselves through longer downswings and that shows the true values and things. But I suppose like coming back to the idea of losing your emotions, let's say you're on the table or when, I don't know, when your horse loses in a race or whatever, that to me is more of an acute response where people can have reactions, right? So I sort of see them as two different things, but I think I understand what you're saying, which, it shows their true values when they have enough time, because if someone owes you money, that's going to be months or something, or if not years where they might be in a position to pay it back. So they've got time to think about their actions and do what's the best course. But if you're on a table and there's 10 left in a tournament and, you're on the bubble and it's a 10K bubble, that's where someone can have a knee-jerk reaction to a bad situation.
Yeah. Come on, dude. We're human, right? Like it's, that's you shouldn't judge someone on a human reaction.
And I saw this stuff with Negrani recently, right, where he threw his, webcam or something after he got unlucky.
Yeah.
And look, I do agree with that.
He'd been copying it all summer.
Yeah.
But so what? The guy's human. Like,
I think there's a difference between the type of emotion you show, though, right? Because if you get upset and you do something, that's fine. But if you say something that, is offensive to the person, do you think that that's different? Or
I agree with you.
Right, yeah.
No, I agree with you, of course.
How the hell can you call with that hand? And then and I've seen it and it's not nice.
It's not about how can you call with that hand. I don't think it's about that. But if I get up and I say, you're a fucking idiot, right? There's no need.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe I might be thinking, you're a fucking imbecile for playing that hand, but I would never say that.
Right.
Right? Because, come on, let's be honest. We all think that sometimes, right? When you cop a horrible beat, you're not walking up thinking in your mind, oh yeah, that guy played it great. You're going, oh my God, what just happened? But you don't, there's no need to abuse anybody. Asking them, if the first thing that comes out of your mouth is, I can't believe you played that. You haven't sworn at anybody. You haven't abused them.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
And
yeah,
Negreanu throwing his camera, he didn't aim it at anybody.
Yeah.
It's just a frustration thing.
Yeah. And I think that's something where it's the tough balance with poker, I would say, right? The poker life balance, let's say. So obviously when you're a poker player, we learn to suppress our emotions. And if you do that time and time again, 16 hours a day or whatever, what happens is you go into your real life and your relationships and you've already trained yourself to suppress your emotions. So now it's a life leak. But if you go too much the other way, then, you come into a poker game and show too much emotion, which I would say then biochemically would impede your ability to think analytically and rationally as best you can, because you can only
100%.
really use so much of parts of your brain at the one time. But yeah, that's where the balance, even though it sounds cliche, it just seems to be.
There has to be a balance,
key.
mate. Yeah, agree.
Yeah.
Agree.
Yeah.
Agree.
So
Has to be
thinking
balanced.
about mindset stuff, and I suppose on this sort of topic, for you over the years, like, have you ever done anything in terms of pre-game stuff or meditation, or like, have you worked with a mindset coach? Like, have you ever done anything like that?
I did quite a bit of work with Jamie in 2008, 2009, which is really good. I think over the years, I go into autopilot when I'm on game day. Early on, I had to train myself to do it. I had to remind myself. Now I don't even think about it. I just go into, game mode. And I know when there's a big tournament coming up, I notice myself that I just naturally become a lot quieter. My internal body is a lot quieter. Like
You mean before you even get to the
not
tournament
that I'm
series,
meditating,
or?
but yeah,
Right.
like a few days before.
Right.
So, for example, I'm heading to Vegas in December for the WPT Championship. I know, like a few days before, I'll start thinking about the tournament, and that will kind of get me into game mode. And it's not a conscious thing anymore; it's just a subconscious thing. And even my family will say, "Dad, you're doing it again." I say, "What am I doing?" They go, "You're very quiet." And I think that's how I have dealt with it. Yeah, but Jamie helped me quite a bit. He very insightful in some of the things. It's funny. A lot of the stuff that mindset coaches take you through, for me, is stuff that I already inherently knew, but vocalizing it makes it real.
Yeah. I love that you've said that, because that really just sums it up perfectly. I find that when someone comes to me for a coaching, for example, I would say that half of the job is already done, because they've volunteered to come and separate from some money. They're going to pay for a session. It's not that they're paying me. They're investing in themselves, and they're investing in their future
100%.
to discover themselves. And I say discover themselves is because you kind of already have it in you somewhere. You just need someone there to help bounce things around, who's a little bit more qualified to help sort of be curious. Like, curiosity is one of the number one things I use in my sessions with people. It's like, I want to know more about this. And then that's so that the client can actually also be curious about themselves and their thoughts. Because one thing in psychology that we don't understand is where our thoughts even come from. They just pop up. Dreams are another one. We don't understand dreams. So, but you have to pay attention to them. I think it's, and I think you'll appreciate this given that you are quite a deep philosophical type of person. There's got to be a meaning behind all these types of things. So if you have thoughts or if you have feelings or if you have dreams, you should be listening to them, I think, anyway. But I'm digressing now myself.
That's all right. The thing with dreams is I read somewhere, and it makes sense, is most of our dreams are interpretations, how our body's interpreting what happened to us during the day. Right, so it could be, so for example, let's say, I'll give you an example. I don't know. Let's say we were watching a documentary on serial killers, right? And maybe it was something that it resonated with me, this particular serial killer, right? Whatever. That night,
where are you going with this, Joe?
Oh no! I'm saying that night
I'm kidding.
I may have a dream.
Yeah.
That's that like has death in it, and it could be someone in the dream that I know, and I don't understand why am I dreaming about this, but your brain actually is just processing what you went through during the day. It's not. I don't think that the dreams have meaning. You know how people are like, oh, I dreamt about this, so it must mean this is going to happen. I don't believe in that. I think it's just your brain processing the information. A classic example, a friend of mine constantly has a dream. Not premonition, no. People think it. Okay. Yeah, I don't particularly agree with that.
Right.
A good friend of mine always has this dream that she's being suffocated. Right? And I said to her, and she has it recurring, like 4 nights a week. What's interesting is that in her day-to-day life, her and her husband have financial problems where they're constantly being suffocated financially and they can't seem to get out of that rut. I said, I think that's the interpretation. That's how your body's processing your real life. Your brain is processing your real life. And it kind of makes sense, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that there's a couple. I think there's 3 or 4 of the main things that people have with dreams. One of them is suffocating or drowning. The other one is like falling off a cliff. I have this really weird dream. So I'm a soccer player. And sometimes, it's actually quite often, I have this dream of me playing soccer, but like I can't bring my legs off the ground to actually get to the ball sometimes. And it's like, I know what I'm doing, I just can't do it. And I for sure believe that that's something to do with not so much like, oh, I'm thinking about what's going to happen in the future. It's more like I'm processing what's currently happening in my life and maybe where I'm going wrong. And our brains just only really know what it's seen, but then it's all information, right? Like, yeah.
What's, just I'll ask you a quick question about that.
Yeah.
How far did you get with your soccer?
Oh, not anything like my poker. Like I'm very social. So yeah.
Did you have ambitions?
I lived and breathed it. No, not really. No. Probably because I got back into soccer when I was like 20, right? I stopped from like 15 to 20 and then I got back into it and I kind of felt like, all right, I want to keep this a hobby because poker was my competitive stuff and it was already stressful enough. So yeah, I didn't want to take soccer that far.
So yeah.
But why do you ask?
Oh, because if it was like, it would seem to me that inability to move your feet, your legs in the dream, to me suggests that you are unable to achieve your goals in life, in soccer. Right? Like say maybe you had ambitions to play in the EPL or something, right? And, you spent so much time and energy thinking about that. Your brain, the way that it's processing it is I can't move my feet. I can't get to where I want to be.
Yeah. I think actually you're onto something here. And also, I got to hold you up here. This is my podcast. You can't come on here and psychoanalyze me, Joe. That's my job. But anyway, I'll entertain it for a little bit, okay? So
Okay.
I think our brains are weird. Like they often like overlap things, right? So I think it's because I play a lot of soccer now, socially, but I play. And I also referee as well because I like doing that for some reason, some stupid reason. But I think you're onto something with like, I'm at a stage where I'm 32. I've sort of been going through that early transition for out of your 20s into your 30s, you know, starting to think about different things in life. And I have been struggling with certain things in terms of direction and goals and what I'm doing, also with the pandemic in there. So I think what's happening is maybe the philosophy you're thinking of where my brain's trying to learn that is coming into just a form of soccer because I play so much. So it knows that. So it's putting that philosophy into the scenario of soccer. And that's storytelling for you, right?
Sure.
But anyway, that's enough of that about me. But yeah, okay. So coming back to your mindset stuff. So you really were able to learn a little bit more and discover a little bit more about yourself with Jamie. And now you sort of feel like you've played so much, and now it's just automatic for you. And I think the last guest I had on here, actually, he talked a lot about that idea of, well, there are some really talented players who pretty much never study. They just play so much. And from the repetition of that and also discussion and playing at a high level, that's going to train you to just have this like ability to jump straight into a game without any preparation and just perform really well.
Becomes
so that
automatic.
sounds like that's where you're at.
If I'm going to give someone, if I'm going to give someone any advice on that, is routine. I think routine is, you know, as you're training yourself until you get to that point where it becomes second nature. If you have a routine that you follow, I think that is very, very strong start, because eventually
talking
that
about
routine just
poker?
becomes part of your life.
Like,
Yeah.
because so this
Yeah,
is
like-
hard with.
Like, for
when you talk
example,
about-
let's say,
Yeah, you go ahead. Yeah.
sorry, I'm talking about pre-game routine.
Okay. Gotcha.
You know, you see golfers have a pre-shot routine,
Mm-hmm.
right? I think in poker, I started by having a pre-game routine. If the tournament started at 12, I want to be up by 10, go do a light workout, have my coffee, come back, have a shower, listen to some music, bang, go.
Mm.
You know, and everyone can find their own routine, whatever suits them. And what routine does, it gets you prepared without you trying to get prepared. Because your body your brain recognizes this routine that when I do A, B, C, D, I end up doing E, which is playing poker.
So it's like it's a step-by-step process, and you're training your
Yeah.
body to know where it's about
Yeah.
to put itself in a
Yeah,
competitive
it's
state.
exactly the same. Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct. Exactly same. If you watch golf on television, all the best players in the world have a pre-shot routine. All that does is when they're practicing, they're doing this routine, then hitting the ball, doing this routine, then hitting the ball. So now when they're on the course, they do the routine, hit the ball. It becomes, the more that we can make things automatic and not overthink things, the more successful we become, whether it's in poker, in sport, whatever, right?
Yeah.
In poker, if I overthink every hand, I'm probably going to level myself out into a bad situation.
Yeah.
If I follow my routine and let my subconscious instinct that I've been training for all these years work, usually the first decision that comes to mind is usually the best decision.
Oh, that's interesting. That's an interesting
Same,
statement.
you know, same in sport, same in life. You know, I've saved countless hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of dollars by just listening to my gut. You know, I think, you know, when they say gut instinct, it's your subconscious mind that's analyzing the situation because your conscious mind can't work fast enough to process all information. Your subconscious mind, and that's, they go, I got this bad feeling. It's your subconscious mind telling you that this doesn't seem right. I mean, I've got so many examples where I walked away from things that blew up the following month because it just wasn't right, didn't feel right.
Yeah, I think this actually ties in pretty well with some of the research I've done in, just more naturopath stuff, or naturopathy, I think you call it, and just the self-help world with regards to nutrition. So apparently, you have neuroreceptors in your gut, and the ancient Greek philosophers discovered this ages ago, and so that's why they said, I forget who it was, maybe Socrates said, the gut is the second brain. So if the gut is the second brain and we have neurotransmitters in there, well, you should be careful of what you eat. So obviously, if you eat trashy food, you're going to, feel trashy, and then it's going to affect your brain chemistry. So I love that you've connected that, that second brain in poker, because one of the other things I help people with is making sure that they have a good diet around, or at least the week before a tournament. So you're training your body and mind to be, as clear as possible. So it's not backed up with shit, basically. But yeah, it comes out, doesn't it, a lot? And actually, one thing I wanted to ask you on this was, obviously the game's evolved a lot with regards to using solvers and all these softwares and things like that. And it's become quite robotic and it's taken the fun out of poker, let's be real, right? Like for you, it seems like a lot of it is more instinctual. And Negreanu was just on a podcast with Lex Friedman recently talking about how almost as if GTO is going to sort of die off a bit over the next couple of years, because people are going to realize that poker is not a game of robots. It's a game of people, and people are consciously trying to outsmart each other all the time. So my question, I suppose, is what are your thoughts on this whole thing? I mean, do you think that you'll always be more of just an exploitative player, or what do you project the future is in poker?
Firstly, yeah, I'll always be exploitative. I respect the theory of GTO and all the stuff that's involved in it. And, wherever I can, I try and take on some of that information because I think it helps, to have an understanding of it. But it's funny, I had this conversation 2 nights ago in a game, and I said, listen, guys, if you're strictly playing GTO, then it's not enough for a live setting. You just can't. I mean, it's people are people. Humans are humans. I can't expect you to play. I can't expect you to play to my GTO standards, of what I think you're doing, because I don't know what you're thinking. I don't know, if you're following the same rule book that I am. Online, it's different. I actually think the whole solver thing and HUDs has destroyed the game of poker. It really has. It's what happened to the good old days where you just came to the table and just played poker?
I don't remember those days, Joe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mate, I tell you what, in my day, getting a bit of advice from someone was like pulling teeth. You had to do your time at the table and learn. And either you made it or you didn't. I remember when I was coming up, I had half a dozen cracks at the bigger game and always got my ass handed back to me until I broke through. But that's how poker was, Now, 15-year-old kid goes online, downloads a few videos, blah, blah, blah. He doesn't have to do all that,
Yeah.
But what he misses out on is the real life experience of sitting there and, reading people and reading the situation of what it is. I saw this young kid who's 18 playing with us the other day. And he was going through all these different combinations in his head of what he should do. And not once did he look at his opponent. Not once did he even take into account how his opponent had played in previous hands. So, yeah.
And that's vital information, right?
I considered doing more of the solver and GTO work. And quite honestly, I just decided I'm too old and I'm too tired. I just don't. You know. And I don't play online, so I don't need that extra information.
Mm.
And I'm not playing in those super high rollers where everyone is like amazingly good and they've studied everything. So it's good enough for me, you know. I'm at that stage in my career where I probably play 25% of my time is spent playing poker, if not less.
Yeah, right.
You know, it's not. I'm not relying on poker to make a living. But when I play, I still want to win. So.
Right. Yeah, I think Poker Go and TV, poker on TV with all these high rollers and super high roller bowls and all that, and everyone on social media talking about these top, you know, there's a pool of 30 to 50 really top players, and, you know, Michael Adamo is in there and all those other guys, right? They kind of, I think, and this is going to sound critical, they've kind of ruined poker at every other level, because now everyone's watching that only and going to their local games thinking that that's how poker is to be played. And it's just not, you know, like people at that really top tier level, as you would know, they're all, go ahead.
I think the whole thing is a farce.
Yeah?
Like the whole thing is a farce. Yeah. How many of those players are playing for more than 20% of themselves?
Yeah.
Do you know for one Triton event, one Triton series, you need $2 million to play the tournaments.
Now, how many tournaments is that? Like 10 or something?
So 10 tournaments.
Yeah, right.
You need $2 million. Who can afford to play these, bro?
Yeah.
It's just a farce.
Yeah.
You know, they're sure they're beating some of the best players in the world, but dude, it's 30 players, 18 players, 42 players. We know how much variance there is in poker. What happens when you take a field of 500, reduce it to 30, run hot for 6 months? What happens?
Yeah, well, you're just going to be in the headlines.
I think it's a farce.
Yeah.
I'm not discounting how good they are. Please don't get me wrong. They're the best in the world, 100%. But the whole thing is a farce.
Well, what do you mean exactly by farce? You mean it's something that's going to die off soon, or it's a...
The money's going around in circles. Yeah. Right. Nobody's really putting their own money up. Even I heard something about one of the top German players who's won over $40 million, only ever wants to have 10% exposure of himself in any tournament. 10%.
That's ridiculous. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. No, sorry. $10,000, not 10%.
$10,000. That's less than 0.1%, isn't it?
Exposure.
Wow.
Of any event.
Of any individual event.
He's playing a $200,000 event. He wants only $10,000 exposure. This is one of the top players in the world.
Yeah.
Who's, you know, widely accepted as one of the best. How is that not a farce?
Well, that's not really true poker now, is it? Right? Like I said before, because when we're saying that money has to be on the table, if it's only 5% your money, you're not going to care anywhere near as much as if it's your entire... True poker. Yeah. Put
your kahunas on the line, bro. Like they did, you know, back in the day when they started the World Series, and these guys put up $10,000 in 1970. You could buy 10 houses in 1970 in the US for $10,000.
Yeah.
Put up the 10,000 and play.
Yeah.
You know, win a satellite and play. At least you've got something on the line. That's why this whole super high roller thing is just, even if I had the money, I don't want to play. Because why am I playing against you when you only have $10,000 exposure? I've got $200,000 exposure.
Yeah, it doesn't seem fair.
And then what hurts me, and this is on a personal level, is these go onto the GPI, on the Hendon Mob earnings. How?
Yeah.
How do you justify this? Brendan, let's next week, you, me, we'll get like 10 of us. We'll start a $10 million tournament every week. Yeah? And we'll just play and make sure that we end up all with $200 million in earnings. That's exactly what they did.
The best in the world. Yeah.
Well, I guess
it's TV, right?
We'll have the...
I see what you're saying, and look, yeah, it is. I see what you mean now when you say it's a farce. It's like, yeah, it probably is fueled from the TV companies and the casinos who want to just bring exposure to their casino or sponsorships and all that, because they don't even pay rake, do they? In these tournaments, the players don't pay rake because it's a televised event. Is that right? I heard that the other day.
I think if you register and start on time, you don't pay rake. If you register, you pay rake. Okay. It encourages everyone to start on time.
Right.
Basically,
okay.
I think for a lot of the events, yeah.
Okay.
But a lot of this was fueled 8 years ago, trying to get all the Chinese businessmen, because they all had endless amounts of money and wanted to play. That's what started it all.
Yeah.
From Macau. And it's slowly grown into, Poker Go and the Triton series. But honestly, Brendon, I ask you, how little enjoyment do you get out of watching a Poker Go series?
No, like I actually, funny enough, I prefer to watch old high stakes poker. Some of even the ones you were on. Like I find that more entertaining and enjoyable than watching current Poker Go stuff. Yeah. That said, actually, the main event is the only one I do enjoy watching, only because the main event has such a range of players, and it's the
World Series.
Yeah. Like I watch that, but that's about the only thing I'd watch.
Of course,
yeah,
of course,
yeah,
of course, mate. Because you get some really good players there, but you also get some characters.
Yeah,
Yeah. Watching these Poker Go stuff and this Triton stuff with the same players playing over and over again, and you're watching cardboard. It's not poker, man. It's just not poker.
Yeah.
It's just not. I don't know. I could be totally wrong. It's just my opinion.
It's hard because what's the solution, right? Because at the start of our episode today, we were talking about how poker was sort of a thing where you would go to try and make money, and then it's become that like individual. You're out to profit yourself. But now we're saying, well, no, poker should be entertaining. Even I've asked some of the guys like who have done really well within Australia to come on the podcast, and they're just not interested. And I'm sort of like, oh, but you've like won so much money, and everybody loves you. Like they want to hear from you, and they say, no, I don't want to do it. And it's like, oh, okay, fair enough.
And there lies the problem, Brendon. Unfortunately, these guys are highly intelligent. Really high IQs, really low EQs, right? So they can't see the trees for the forest because they don't understand that if they don't give back to the game so that you can help the game grow, there's going to be no game for you to play.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like showing an appreciation to the fact that, well, they never would have had the game if the people before them didn't promote the game.
I saw an interview when someone said, they were asking, are you going to be a good ambassador? Are you going to do this? He goes, I owe nothing to poker. I mean, I don't understand. Like, it's just...
It's sort of just sad. There's not really other way to say it, is there?
It's very sad. It's very sad.
Yeah.
See, and let's talk about Poker Go. Do you think Poker Go is growing the poker audience?
Good question. I suppose there's a few different answers. I think it's attracting people who are already poker part of the audience, like it's just, I don't think it's making,
so the answer is
adding new people. Yeah, I guess, that's what true. Yeah. So no, it's not adding new people
so it's not
to
growing
the scene.
poker audience.
Yeah.
Is the Triton series growing the poker audience? No.
Probably not. No,
the only two series that actually grow the poker audience is WPT and World Series of Poker.
Actually, and there was one opportunity there where did you see the stream that Phil Hellmuth and Tom Dwan were on with the young YouTubers and all that? Did you happen to see that?
Yes, yeah.
That
look
was
what
a
Phil
huge
Hellmuth did.
opportunity. Yeah, I know. That was a huge opportunity to promote the game outside of people who already knew poker, because that alone would have
Tom
got
sat
more
there
views
like
than the main event.
My God, and Tom sat there like a piece of cheese as well. He didn't engage at all. Just like you had these people who've got like between them maybe 10 million followers. Between them,
Yeah.
these YouTubers.
Yeah.
And they gave them Phil Hellmuth and Tom Dwan. Phil Hellmuth min buying and trying to angle half the pot. I just...
Who
it's
do you
beyond
think that
me,
we should have put
it's
on
just
there?
absolutely beyond me. Antonio Sfandiari.
Yeah, he would have been good, yeah. A
For a start.
magician.
Right? Yeah. Antonio Sfandiari. I'd even say Mike Mattisau.
Oh, yeah.
You know? Phil Gelfond. Even though he's quiet, but he's pleasant.
He's respectful.
Doug Pope.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah.
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 You know, there's many that could have, easily, I think this just annoys me. How does Phil Hellmuth sit at that table with a min buy-in with these guys who don't even know what the cards are in their hands? I don't understand. You're the most popular poker player, allegedly, right? You've got 16 WSOP bracelets and you've come to a gunfight with a little knife. I don't understand.
Well, doesn't this make you think?
What image does that do for us?
You were talking before, Joe, about how this German guy only has 10,000 in a 200K tournament or whatever, like 5% of himself. Does it make you wonder that maybe Phil just didn't have the cash flow, but he wanted to play only on his own coin? Like, would you prefer him to have bought in for 100K and only had 10K of himself? Like, because that's what makes me think that he only was in for 10K for. Because it's absolutely foolish to be in there if you're a pro and you had deep pockets.
He's always been like that, bro. He's always been like that. He never exposes himself, ever.
Yeah. All right, look, well, I'm conscious of time here, and I really appreciate you jumping on here with me, and I'm sure you and I could chat for hours on end about all sorts of things poker-related. But look, I just want to thank you so much for being here and just, being the ambassador that we need in poker, and just sharing those deeper things beyond the surface level, I think is something that everybody can really learn from and appreciate. As I said to you off air, one of my goals and motifs with what I do is to make sure that people can have that health, life, poker balance, be able to play their best, but also still have their relationships and well-being. So you're the perfect man to have on here for that. So thank you, Joe. I appreciate it.
Cheers, Brendon. Good luck with it all, mate. And I applaud you for taking this route. I think it's needed. And I think your audience, and hopefully you attract more people, will learn a lot from it and hopefully give them a more balanced perspective on the life of poker.
Thanks, Joe. Appreciate it.